Welcome to Savvy Business, Life Unscripted, with your host, Christina Rivera, where our guests share their wisdom and valuable business tips, empowering our audience to expand their personal potential.
Hi, Tonya McKenzie. Welcome to Savvy Broadcasting. I'm so grateful to have you here this evening. How are you?
I am excited to be here, blessed, and looking forward to this conversation.
Oh my gosh, so am I. We had to do a bit of rescheduling, but I'm so glad we could get you back and get you on schedule because it's so important. We're going to talk about leadership.
Yes.
Yeah, it's such an important topic. Businesses have been going through a harrowing time as well as just individuals, period. And it's never been more important than to lead your family, your business, and you're going to help us do that. But before we go there, just share a little bit about your backstory and how you came to becoming the founder of Sand and Shores. How did that happen?
Absolutely. So Tonya McKenzie, I'm a California girl. I live in Los Angeles, California right now, but I am from the Bay Area, Silicon Valley. I am born and raised in San Jose. I always had aspirations to become an attorney, but life got to lifing. And I wound up working for a nonprofit, the YMCA. Many of you might have heard of one of those before. I was an associate executive director. Listen to this. I accepted the job before I realized that they didn't have the money to pay me. They said, you have to build your own position. Well, how do I do that? We wound up I had built my team by doing some grassroots marketing and research about the community that I served. Well, it was a very small YMCA and they wanted to expand, but of course they didn't have the money. And when people don't have marketing dollars, you can't get people to know who you are. So I started reaching out to media, the magazines, the newspapers, and all of those that are doing local coverage in our area. Started telling them the stories of the people that were in the building, stories of the people in the community, what we were trying to do. And we started getting coverage. And when they were doing stories and they didn't want to cover my story, I would make a story happen. So we wound up, raising about a little over $1 million, opening that new facility. When I moved to Los Angeles, I worked for an advertising agency and a newspaper, Southland Publishing. Once I left there, I decided I wanted to do my own thing, and it was a PR firm. I started with a magazine, but realized that my advertising clients needed more than just an ad. Because let me ask you this, when you look in a magazine, do you remember the last full-page ad that you saw, or do you remember somebody's amazing story?
Stories, where is that?
Right. Stories are where it's at. So I wound up opening Sand and Shores out here in Los Angeles, California. It's been about 7 years now. And we've had the opportunity to help an incredible amount of businesses, entrepreneurs, and nonprofits grow their brand awareness and grow their media coverage. So yeah, Sand and Shores it is.
Wow, that is an amazing story. Now, it seems to me like you had a gift and a talent right from the get-go with YMCA. Did you know you had that talent before you stepped in there, or was it something that you just acknowledged as you were going? You're like, wow, I have a gift for this.
I realized that I don't take no and I don't accept failure. So what happened was I was given a job to do when I was at Cal State Northridge. That's the university I went to. I worked for the health department at the beginning of the summer. And he said, I'm going to give you a budget. It was very small. And by the end of the summer, I need this to have happened. So we had a program and we needed participants. Well, how am I going to get them here? He was like, I'll leave that to you. Well, I realized that the only way that you get people to know about things is if you have stories and you get other people to tell other people about what you're doing. That is public relations. I didn't know what the name of it was at the time, but what I realized is, one, you always have to be able to talk about what you do. And it can't just be you. You have to do it in such a compelling way that other people will share the information with other people. So I didn't know what it was called, but at some point I realized I really can tell stories and motivate other people to share. It's almost like endorsements, right? When someone endorses you, that's actually PR. People don't know that.
Oh, yeah.
But an endorsement is public relations. That is someone saying something about you when you're not even in the room.
And it's the best PR. Well, you hope it is if they're not saying negative things about you.
Hey, it still raises brand awareness. You just want it to be positive.
Yeah, you do. It does. It does. And I had heard the phrase, facts tell, stories sell. And
Yes.
and I think what ends up happening is a lot of business owners just don't realize that fact when they get started. So they're like, here's the wham bam, here's all the things I could do for you, without realizing that some of the biggest brands, what gets them out there in front of people and gets people excited about them is the story behind the brand, not the, oh, what can I do for you?
Yes, absolutely. And then a lot of people don't understand the difference between PR and marketing. So I'll just tell you, marketing is you telling other people how amazing you are. PR is getting other people to tell other people how amazing you are. And there is an art to that.
Yeah. Now, where does someone get started? Because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of business owners that are maybe struggling the past couple of years as things are changed and evolved, and they're like, how do I pivot? And how do I really begin to, well, for one, PR in such a way that's positive and get my message out there in a positive way, my stories out there?
I would say the first place you start is start writing. Just write it down. How did you get started? Where was the trigger at? Because most businesses are a solution, right? They're a solution to something. But that solution came because you realized that there was a gap in the industry. So start to write that down. A lady talked to me before about her jeans line. Well, why would you even bother? There's a million jeans line. She started talking about why she started because, most pants, they don't have a lot of like quality for women with big derrieres, but small waists, so she developed some jeans that are good for people with large bottoms and thin waists and are a good quality. But she had some bad experiences in order for her to even come up with, look, I'm tired of having these bad experiences in the store. So I'm just going to make something for me. Come to find out, there's a million other women that were looking for the same thing. So you are a solution, but what triggered you to do the work to solve the problem? I have a guy with a software that he needed for his business. Every other software out there was something missing. There was something that just didn't fit right with his business. So he developed a software. Well, it's one of the top growing software starting point. It's one of the best softwares out there now for like consultants and small businesses. You are solving a problem, but something triggered you to solve that problem. Tell the story and really tap into what that pain point was and how you felt doing that. And once you start developing your brand story, there are people, listen, content is queen, okay? And there are organizations, media, they want to hear your stories. So shameless plug, I have a community of people, of leaders and communicators that just talk about different ways to tell their story, where they can tell it at. But first, you got to develop your brand story. So really sit down and just jot that out. And once you do that, there's always opportunities out there to kind of put your story out there in the world.
Yeah, that is so important. You know what's interesting, Tonya? I was at a networking event many years ago in Philadelphia, and we sat down, and the first thing they said to everyone at this huge table, about 20 people, okay, everyone, you got 1 minute. We have a timer going. Tell me who you are. What's your business? And people were going on for minutes. Ding, got to shut up. And when it got to me, 30 seconds, and they're like, whoa, you're the first person at the table, because really you should be that clear with your messaging on what is it that you provide people? How do you help people? And boom, in a couple sentences, you should be able to have that clarity on what it is your story is.
I always ask my clients, who are you and why should I care?
Yeah.
If you can answer that question, we got business. If you cannot answer that question, you need to go figure that out. Yeah. Who are you, or who is your company, and why should I care? Why are you impactful to your customer or your potential customer? And if you're able to really enunciate that, you're in a good place.
Absolutely. That's the first step. And now let's talk about leadership, because there might be business owners out there that are feeling like, I'm not moving, or maybe things have become static. I had to let people go over this crazy time. What do you think businesses miss with regards to leadership?
You have to. There's two things I want to make sure you understand. One, you have to have a level of goodwill. What is your business doing to leave this world better than you got it? How are you contributing to the community in which you are providing services or products? Why is that important? Because it keeps you out of trouble, first of all. And we're in a time now where there's a lot of social uprising. There's always somebody getting canceled. You don't want to be performative in our culture right now. You really want to know what you stand behind, and it should be something authentic to your brand. That is exactly why leadership matters. Where are you leading, even outside of your business? Where are you leading in your community and in your industry, right? And then also deciding what your niche is. Where do you set the standard? Where do you set the bar high in your industry? So that is more or less saying, what do I do differently? How do I stand out? And what makes me different? And continuing to excel at that, continuing to grow in that space. Because again, it's who are you and why should I care? Yeah. You have to have something that stands out, that allows for you to have position over others. There's going to be a million jean companies, coffee companies, but what is it that makes you stand out? Sometimes maybe it is the goodwill that you do. Maybe it is the donations that you make to the youth foundation or something of that nature. But that is also something that's going to be a part of your brand and people will remember, something you can tout always, instead of when something happens, then you become performative and you just jump into everything. Like, okay, we need to take a stance on this. We need to be in that conversation. You don't. You need to decide who you are, where you stand out, stick by that, and make sure that you are setting the standard. Yeah. Every single business, there's space for you to have a niche that no one else can top. Every business.
I wish I knew your friend way back when, because I have a big derriere, and I could, it's always that waist, with all that room in the waist, and yeah.
Right. So, you're like, this is not working. This don't look good. Now my little
pants are my least favorite thing to try on. They really are. I was like, let's skip the pants.
Listen, give me a dress. Just cover it all up.
That's right. So yeah, I totally get what you mean there. And when I first got started, before I started Savvy, I had said to a number of people when I was still in corporate America, deciding what do I want to do to build myself. And I said to my family and friend, what do you see as my gifts, my greatest gifts and talents in the world? And then at first, a lot of them came back to me and said, well, you're a great storyteller. You're a great listener. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't help me. What else? Someone has a big mouth out there. But here I am 11.5 years later doing Savvy. So they were right. But sometimes they can be the clue if you have nowhere to start, to ask those questions of the people closest to you. Where do they see your greatest gifts and talents?
What do they remember about you? It's really that memorability factor. It's the wow factor. It's that thing that I can't get from no one else. Yeah. I think they pegged it right for you, ma'am. I think they pegged it right.
Absolutely. Now, if someone's getting started today and they have no idea where to begin with, say, starting a business, what would be your advice to them?
Decide what problem you want to solve.
Yeah. Look into the market. Yeah.
Be specific, because what happens is when you decide what problem you're going to solve, then you can whittle it down to who are you going to help, right? You have a target audience. That also helps with your messaging. It helps with your branding. It helps with all of these great things that need to be put into your business. But always start with, what problem are you solving? Who are you going to help? What's their pain point? And then we go from there. You have to build your brand before you start marketing and advertising. And your brand consists of your message, who you are as a leader, who your business is, who you serve, what is the look and feel of your organization? What do you want people to remember about you? What do you want them to say about you when you're not in the room? And then you reverse engineer from there. You continue to build, well, how am I going to make that happen? This is what I want people to think about my business. How do I make that happen? What are the elements and the components of business development that I need to put into my message, my marketing, my brand, to make sure that these things can come to fruition. So it's definitely having a goal, starting with the problems that you want to solve, who you are trying to help, and then we build from there.
Yeah, very good point, Tonya. Also, I'm thinking to pay attention to how you come across on all the social medias. One gal had told me her PR agent had said, "Hey, listen, on some of your social media, if you're coming across less than desirable from the stories or the message you've told me you want to get out to your audience." So to pay attention to how you're presenting yourself in social media. I think some people think social media is different than going outside, and it's not.
It's not, and consistency. So that's why it's important to develop your brand first, because once you do that, then you can be consistent across platforms.
Yeah.
Maybe the message is slightly different based on the platform that you're on, but it should look the same. When I go to your LinkedIn, I should know it's you when I go over to your Instagram. It should be consistent. I shouldn't be confused. When I'm at your Twitter or your Facebook, and then I go to your website, I shouldn't be wondering, is that the same person? So consistency is important, but again, that's why the branding piece is essential at the beginning, because it has all those elements in there. And then even if you hire someone to help you later, you have a platform that you built now that they can work off of, instead of messages being all over the place, colors being all over the place. You know, you sound different in different places. You're the same person. So if you're the same person when you were on Twitter, you're the same person on Facebook. We need to make sure that all of that is consistent.
Yeah. And I would stress, I think the reason some people or businesses might come across not consistent is they're maybe trying to emulate some other business, just be authentic. And if you're being truly authentic, it's going to come across on all of your social media the same way as truly you.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, we could stay here all day. I know we could, but I want everyone to find out where they can get a copy of your amazing book. You have a book out there, Amazing Moms, Parents for the 21st Century, and find out more about you. Tell them your website, where they can find out more about you on your books and all that good jazz.
Awesome. So I actually was in the first book. I actually authored a book, A Child's Memories of Cartoons and Murder. I am a child advocate, so I use that book a lot to speak to the young people in the schools and universities. But you can find any information you want on me at TonyaMcKenzie.com or sandandshores.com. Awesome. I'm consistent across platforms. So Tonya McKenzie PR on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, that's where you'll find me.
Awesome. Well, Tonya McKenzie, thank you so much for all the wonderful work you're doing out there, because you just do not do what you're doing there. You're also a Los Angeles County Commissioner. Oh my gosh, you are a busy gal. I'm so grateful for the service you're giving to the community and all the work you do to help businesses. Thank you so much for coming today to Savvy Broadcasting and sharing your great wisdom.
Thank you for having me. You guys have a good one.
You betcha.
Like, subscribe, and share this episode. To listen to more savvy episodes and savvy biz tips, go to www.lifeunscriptedradio.com. To find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest, email Christina at lifeunscriptedradio.com.